Welcome to Park Circle. Grab a Bible or follow the link in the description. Read through Psalm 108. Look for Christ in the passage. Join me on my round. Psalm 108 follows as a psalm of David on a series of crescendoing psalms celebrating the steadfast love of the Lord. And in this case, it starts with, "My heart is steadfast." Because his heart is steadfast, he invites those singing the psalm with him to make music, singing praises to the Lord. Such an encouragement. God is to be exalted among all the nations because his steadfast love endures forever. We see that in God's exaltation over every created thing, that God's people are delivered and saved. It's good for his people to see God exalted. That God's people get to be a part of that exaltation through music and song and instrumentation is a glorious thing. In his holiness, God has promised ownership of his people and the subjugation of all the surrounding nations. What good news. In a psalm that started with such hope, such confidence in the steadfast love of the Lord, he then says, "Have you not rejected us?" The armies of God can do nothing without God himself. God is our hope. And so the psalm concludes with David calling to God for help. And he does. The salvation of man is vain and futile, and God alone do we have hope of seeing our enemies tread down. The Lord is so glorious. As I was reading the first part of the chapter, I was struck by the number of songs I know that have captured the themes, if not the exact words, of this psalm. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and thy glory above the clouds. Great songs to sing. Glorious good news that God should be exalted. Maybe I have a bad memory, but I don't remember those hymns continuing on to verses about making the places of God's enemy the place he cast his shoe. That's no less glorious truth in this passage. Nor do I remember those verses that deal with the enmity between God and man, the futility of the salvation that man can attempt on his own, or how God himself alone can save, delivering his people from their enemies. Yet it's in Christ that we see the steadfast love of the Lord most faithfully demonstrated. It's in Christ that we see our enemies cast down. Our foes of sin and death have been destroyed. It's because of Christ that we exalt God and his steadfast love before the nations. His faithfulness is seen most clearly at the cross and at the empty tomb. Christ is raised, declaring victory over our enemies. So let's sing all of Psalm 108 together, rejoicing in God's faithfulness because of our great need in him. I am so glad that the Lord in his holiness has looked at enemies like me and said, he is mine. So with that, let's rejoice in Christ today. Let's meditate on his word. And please, join me next time.